Welcome to Skincare Confidential, a podcast supporting the Science of Skincare Summit, an annual educational event occurring in Austin, September 5th through the 7th, 2025. My name is Dr. Ted Lain. I am a board-certified dermatologist, and I am with my partner in crime, Dr. Patti Farris. Hi, Patti.
Morning.
We are in Orlando, and we have been in Orlando longer than anybody really should be in Orlando.
I was going to say, we are on a roll. We've been here, and we've been going 24/7.
Yeah, we are at the AAD meeting in Orlando, and we thought we would just record a quick episode talking about everything we have learned from the exhibitor hall and from all of the meetings that we've been having regarding what's new in skincare. And really, Patti, there's a lot.
It's unbelievable. You know, every year at the American Academy of Dermatology, that exhibit hall seems to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
And there are so many new companies coming in the marketplace. It's unbelievable. Innovations with different products, you know, looking and addressing different subpopulations of our patients. It just goes on. And, you know, I was tickled because when I walked in the exhibit hall, and I'm seeing a lot of the usual big companies there, the L'Oreals and Neutrogenas, all the great companies we love. And then I looked over and I saw this colorful booth, just pinks and blues. And I'm like, what is that? Bubble. Go figure. Bubble at the AAD. Amazing.
Yeah. I mean, and Patti, you actually met the founder of Bubble who was at the booth.
I did. I got to tell you the whole story in a nutshell. So my grandkids are obsessed with Bubble.
Okay.
I mean, it's darling. The packaging is beautiful. And I'm always like, you know, probably doesn't hurt. Maybe it doesn't do anything. You know, you don't want kids to get anything too active anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So I just strolled over to Bubble. And I actually ran into the founder of the company and the research scientist who's the formulator who's involved with it. And I started asking them, and they've got a medical advisory board. Some of our friends who we know are, you know, big time skincare people, and some people who deal in acne and some of the issues that might address that particular population. And they're doing studies, clinical studies. So I asked them, I haven't seen them. I said, please send me a package when you get back of the things that you have. And Patti Farris, who never takes products home from the American Academy of Dermatology, has Bubble to take home to her grandkids. I'm like a rock star with them because I've got Bubble, little cute samples they gave in a little mesh bag. But I'm very interested to see the science behind it because, you know, it goes to show you just don't discount anybody until you know. And I say that a lot of times on podium, just because you don't know if there's a study doesn't mean there isn't a study. Mm-hmm. And so we really need to look at the science, and I certainly will.
You know, as we were walking around, it struck me how many of these small companies, which maybe a few years ago you would think they would never have the funding to support a clinical trial. Right. They're all now with their, you know, their copies of their clinical trials that they're handing out as they detail people on the different products. It's amazing. It's just a totally new era, I feel like, in skincare, where you don't just rely on the huge companies for the clinical trials. It's percolated down to even the smaller companies because they realize, especially if they're going to be at the AAD, they have to have the data to support their products.
Absolutely. And we know it's not inexpensive to exhibit at the AAD. So it really shows, you know, you have to be a company of a certain maturity to even get in that door because it's fairly pricey. But I agree with you. It's super exciting. Let's talk maybe about some of the specifics that we saw this year. And one that I know you've been involved in, I was also involved in the ad boards for, is a Eucerin product, which comes from Beiersdorf. One of my favorite lines is Eucerin. And it's under the Eucerin Radiant Tone brand, and they've got a serum, a day lotion with SPF 30, and they've got a night cream. So talk about Thiamidol. This is a very cool new ingredient coming into the market.
Finally available in the United States. This has been launched in Europe a few years ago and just done incredibly well outside of the US. Thiamidol is an ingredient that is a human tyrosinase inhibitor. So tyrosinase is the enzyme that's involved in the pathway of producing pigment in the skin. If you're able to inhibit this, the idea is that you'll stop the production of pigment and reduce the appearance of brown spots, maybe even melasma as well, which, as you know, is probably the most difficult to really reduce. And finally, it's here. I think it's a great new ingredient. It seems to be very safe. It has been tested on a novel testing pathway where the company not only found this new ingredient, but they also figured out a way to mimic the human tyrosinase enzyme.
Right.
Most other companies test their tyrosinase inhibitors on mushroom tyrosinase, which is not human. And so this
Correct.
company did both. They figured out a new chemical entity that they were going to use, and they figured out how to test it so that they could be sure that it worked in humans. So it is really exciting, and I hope it ushers in a new era of much safer lightening and brightening products for the consumer and our patients.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it's really interesting that they've done some studies where they have combined it or used it in the Kligman formula. So
Mm-hmm.
pull out the hydroquinone, add in the thiamidol, and it appears to be efficacious in that
Mm-hmm.
as well. So they've done a lot of good work. They've done it in combination with laser treatments. And
Right.
like you said, this has been going on for years. And now it's finally launching in the US. And we all need hydroquinone alternatives.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep people on HQ too long. And some patients don't want HQ at all, which makes it hard on us. But this is a very effective skin lightening agent. So I
Yeah.
think we're going to hear more on that to
Well,
come.
I think just to piggyback on the idea, we need to move away from hydroquinone. There was a meta-analysis done on some de-identified data for millions and millions of people. And although this is really not that specific, but if you just look at those patients who were prescribed hydroquinone versus those who were not, those who were prescribed hydroquinone had an increased risk of cancer. And so,
Really?
yeah.
Where was that published? Do you remember?
It was by a resident at UTMB in Galveston, and I think it was
Oh,
5
wow.
to 8 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, he or she could not account for all the variables, but it just raised eyebrows. And
Yeah,
I think,
I'm sure.
hydroquinone is, related to a really toxic chemical that can hurt the kidneys. And I think we just need to move away from that if we can. So
Yeah.
having these products and
Thank you.
new
Thank you
ingredients.
for bringing thiamidol to the US of A.
Mm-hmm.
It's long overdue.
Well,
Long overdue.
and Patti, a huge issue that everyone's talking about is this GLP-1 inhibitors, right? So, or
Oh,
GLP-1 agonists, I should say, excuse me. And these are, obviously they're injected now to semaglutide, for example, to help people lose weight, but they also have all these other amazing effects on the body and on the skin.
absolutely.
And while a lot of skincare companies are talking about the phenomenon of GLP-1s, we actually found a company who formulated a product for people on GLP-1s.
This is unbelievable. And, so many companies, as you know, have asked us, what can we do about this problem? Because,
Mm-hmm.
when you lose a lot of weight, you definitely have skin that's lax. And we know it's a lot of it is fat atrophy. So that's very hard to address with skincare products. So we found a product in that exhibit hall called VoluLift. And VoluLift is by Image. And you and I spent a good bit of time talking to the team at Image, and they're really excited about this product addressing that loss of volume that you get, hence the name VoluLift. I've got a little list of the ingredients I jotted down. It's got exosomes. It's got also bakuchiol, which we're all familiar with, botanical, that's sort of a retinoid mimetic. It's got HA, hyaluronic acid, so that's a plumping ingredient, and it's got ornithine. And I wasn't 100% sure, so maybe I'll ask you how the ornithine played in. I know I wasn't sure what that ingredient exactly was doing in the formula.
As an amino acid, I think the idea was just to provide a reservoir of amino acids for protein production and making sure that the skin, the skin had what it needed in order to do that. Otherwise, I'm not sure what the ornithine would do.
Yeah,
maybe
makes sense.
Maybe we need to get them on the podcast and learn a little bit more about
We're
it.
100% going to have them on the podcast. This is so cool. But, Raja Subramani, who both you and I have a huge amount of respect for, he does all kinds of great trials, and he's in the process of doing a trial. Preliminary results they were presenting, which he said were good when we ran into him for a nanosecond while he was running around. So this is super exciting to me. To have something topical.
Okay.
And
well,
stay tuned.
Yeah. So we had the topicals, and we'll go back to the topicals, but another exciting launch here is actually a nutraceutical. It's a supplement, isn't it?
Absolutely. That That whole, remind me the name of it,
Bio Rewind.
rewind. Yeah. Kind
Yeah.
of a bio rewind. So this is a botanical supplement, an herbal supplement based on rosemary extract. And, we know that that's a potent anti-inflammatory molecule. And of course, it's an antioxidant.
Mm-hmm.
And they've done some really extensive studies to look at whether it can actually remove advanced glycation end products from the skin. So it's really designed to attack these AGEs that we know trigger aging in the skin, and they start accumulating when you're in your 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So ages are a problem from the very get-go, and they escalate over time, and they get worse when you are exposed to the sun. AGEs are super interesting to me, and I love to talk about glycation. I wrote a book
Mm-hmm.
about sugar, so
Mm-hmm.
it's right in my wheelhouse. But this was really interesting, and Zoe Drelos did a nice clinical study for them. Giuseppe Villacchi paired with her and did some really nice histologies where he did show these AGEs were removed from the skin, or reduced, I should say, in the skin. I mean, it was really impressive. I thought they did a very in-depth dive at what this could do.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
And again, this is from Skin Better, which is in the L'Oreal
Yeah.
portfolio of companies. And
Right.
this is a product they've been working on for 7 years, I think it is.
Yeah, 7
And,
years.
nothing comes out from L'Oreal without ensuring safety is paramount. And
Yeah, they do their due
so,
diligence.
right. So I think that safety is there. It's really a rosmarinic acid supplement that the synthesis of it has been finely tuned to make sure that they get the highest concentration of the purest form. And they showed great antioxidative effects with lipid peroxidation reduction and then, of
Right.
course, the reduction in advanced glycation end products as well. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
And
very cool.
and I think it aligns with a lot of what we're doing in the office, which is treating people holistically for both their skin and body health. And I see
Right.
this being one of the offerings that we all have. And,
Yeah.
so it's a big launch.
Yeah, that's a big launch for them, is right. And I think you're right. I mean, we've got to consider the inside out approach. We do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the outside in with the topicals, and it's so tempting because we're dealing with skin and it's so easy
Mm-hmm.
to access from the outside. But I think, consumers are interested in nutraceuticals. Our patients are interested in nutraceuticals. They
Yeah,
are, there's huge interest in
huge.
it.
I mean, thank goodness for Nutrafol, quite frankly, because Nutrafol opened our eyes to the opportunity
Agree.
that supplements and botanical ingredients can really make a difference, in particular for hair growth. I can't tell you how many of my patients are taking Nutrafol.
Absolutely. And the other thing I think they did is they set the bar up where
Mm-hmm.
you've got to do studies on your nutraceuticals. And
Mm-hmm.
actually, I'm speaking, as you know, in a couple hours on
Mm-hmm.
nutraceuticals at the meeting. And I'm starting with a discussion on what do we look for with nutraceuticals? And we look for studies.
Yeah.
And those companies that have studies are definitely going to find themselves ahead in the marketplace,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what the consumer is now looking for.
Mm-hmm.
Consumers hip to the fact that companies like Nutrafol have done studies. So
Well,
good for them.
speaking of consumer companies, I think we had a really interesting time visiting the Unilever booth, where they have Dove
We did.
and Vaseline and so many
We
other
did.
products. And
Well,
God, that they are really leaning into cleanser technology, and
absolutely.
Dove has some new cleansers that not only cleanse, remove the dirt and debris and the dead skin cells, but they leave on a layer of various ingredients depending on what you want, including, for example, hyaluronic acid or some other moisturizing ingredients.
Yeah.
They've got brightening ingredients. I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's
Oatmeal
amazing.
they had, sal
Yeah,
acid if you have acne.
yeah,
I mean, and they wash off, but they leave the active behind. I mean, it's
yeah.
so cool.
It's
It's
like
so cool.
I don't know how they do that. It's like the shampoo and conditioner in one. How could you use the shampoo to remove the oil and debris and then condition at the same time? I don't get
I don't know.
it.
But they're a master at it.
Yeah,
They're like the cleansing, shampooing company.
yeah,
It's amazing. We did get a picture of you in their shower, didn't we?
yeah. They had
The booth had a shower.
and a huge bedazzled Vaseline jar, which I was obsessed with. I thought
That
that
was
was
pretty
just
cool.
cool.
I know. I walk by it every time. I like that. Is so cool.
All right, so
Anyway,
that was Unilever, and then we went to the Neutrogena booth, and
yeah,
all of Kenvue was buzzing, and they have,
as it always is.
as it always
Kenvue's got
is.
so many great brands, and
Hmm.
you and I both presented there. So
Hmm.
I talked about Collagen Bank, which is a new consumer product. I love the fact that they're targeting pre-aging.
Hmm.
So this is something that, I think years ago we didn't recognize. They have done over 100 studies looking at this patient population.
Gosh.
These are young people who have complaints of loss of radiance. They come in your office and everyone's office. My skin looks dull. I'm starting to see a few little wrinkles. They have uneven skin tone, and they really have categorized it. And it's so interesting because they develop these things called aging turning points. And if you have very light skin, Caucasian skin, Fitzpatrick's 1 and 2, as we call them in derm, you actually have an aging turning point at 25.
Hmm.
That's young.
That
If
is
you,
young.
if you have like a medium skin tone, it's 30. And if you have darker skin tones, it's 35. So intuitively, we know darker skin types will age
Hmm.
later than
Hmm.
younger skin types, but it's so cool that they categorized it. And then they looked at loss of elasticity, which starts in the 20s. Amazing. Loss of collagen, which again starts very early in these patients with very light skin tones.
Hmm.
So then the solution is something that can prevent, obviously, and then boost collagen and boost elastin and other things. And you and I are both familiar with the acetyl dipeptide 31
Hmm.
amide,
Hmm.
which I call AP31.
Hmm.
And that's a cool molecule that was developed by the research team at Kenvue.
Yeah,
Took them 8
homegrown.
years. Again, same thing, 8 years in development. And they did a lot of clinical testing. They found it's a great anti-inflammatory molecule and it boosts the extracellular matrix, collagen, elastin, hyaluronic acid, decorin, and fibronectin. So
Tiny little peptide, right?
yeah, it's a tiny peptide, 229 Daltons, and it
Mhm.
goes right through the stratum corneum. And it's, obviously it's getting down to the fibroblast because it's
Mhm.
turning on fibroblast activity. So it's really like a matrikine, as we would
Mhm.
call it.
Mhm.
And they paired it in the morning in the Collagen Bank product with an SPF 30. So there's your prevention with treatment in the morning. And then the night product has bakuchiol,
Okay.
which again is that botanical um, retinoid mimetic
Mhm.
botanical. Very cool. It has been tested against retinol and has very similar activity. So I think it's a great play for a population that is generally underserved and floundering around trying to figure out what to use,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know? So
I mean, I've been to Sephora and I get completely lost at Sephora. you know,
everybody gets lost at Sephora.
and so having a product line like this, which we know
Yeah,
has the right ingredients, I love the AM product with SPF. I think that's
me
brilliant, and the
too.
PM product with a retinoid mimetic makes a lot of sense, just to preserve the collagen and elastin and all the glycosaminoglycans in the dermis to make sure that your skin has the turgor and the youthful appearance. It just makes
Yes,
so much sense.
it
I
really
really,
does.
yeah, we're totally aligned on that product. I think
They're
that's
going to hit a
great.
home run with it. It's going to
Yeah,
be a giant
yeah,
product.
yeah,
I was telling my kids about it, and they were all like, "Oh, we're probably too old for it." I said, "I
yeah.
think your ship sailed, guys. Too
you
much
know,
sunbathing and no collagen bank when you were in your 20s."
I had the amazing opportunity to meet Katie Ledecky here.
Oh, I wanted to meet
Oh
her.
my
How was
gosh.
that?
It was amazing. And she, the most decorated female Olympic swimmer of all time. And
Nice.
she is great. I mean, we really had a good conversation. I really enjoyed meeting her. So
Really?
that's the
Where's
kind of
she
fun
from?
stuff that happens.
Oh, yeah. Well, wasn't Snoop Dogg around?
Snoop
Snoop Dogg
Dogg
in the house?
for
we mi-
Neutrogena. That's right.
exactly. We missed it.
We miss Snoop Dogg, but I
Unfortunately,
had,
we were working while Snoop Dogg was playing.
yeah, yeah, that's always the case. Okay. There was another product that I came across that I was excited. This is from Skin Medica, which is an allergan
Oh,
line.
yeah.
And
Hmm.
Skin Medica has TNS serum and advanced TNS, and
Right.
they do some really, really cool stuff. And
They sure
they
do.
launched this product called HA5, which has 5 types of hyaluronic acid, from very small to high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. And they showed that not only does the very small molecular weight penetrate, but it also induces more endogenous hyaluronic acid production, which at that
Right.
time was incredible. And so they've upgraded this to HA5 hydrocollagen, So again, it still has those 5 types of hyaluronic acid, but they've added more technology to increase collagen production as well. So not only hyaluronic acid, but also collagen production in one product. And I think,
That's interesting.
and the theme is that we're seeing these products that are Swiss Army knife products that can do more than one thing.
Right.
And this kind of is right in that wheelhouse. And I was kind of excited to learn more about the HA5 hydrocollagen innovation from Skin Medica. And but that was great. But
Such a great company. They've always done such good work.
always,
They're so in it to
I
win it.
agree.
They're really very good.
Yep.
The research team there has been so good. And HA5 is a great product. The
Mhm,
original, I've not used the new one, but I'm sure it's
mhm,
going to be new and improved. That's
mhm,
something we're seeing a lot of.
mhm,
Companies sort of retooling their old products because there's so much innovation in ingredients and technology for delivering ingredients. So they're smart to do that because you really
mhm,
can't rest on the laurels of what you launched 10
mhm,
years ago.
mhm.
And so we're seeing a lot of that, I think, across the board.
Yeah. And then, Patty, one of the big themes that we were talking about with a lot of companies was menopausal skin and how to
Oh, I
take
know.
care of women going through menopause. It's really a difficult issue.
It's a huge issue. And some companies are really looking at it. One that comes to mind is number 7,
Hmm.
because I walked by their booth and they had sort of a big exhibit of products that were
Hmm.
directed towards menopausal skin. I didn't get to take a deep dive as to what's in them, but just as a category, this is really important because, when you get older, that loss of estrogen really starts to accelerate collagen loss. Obviously, your skin gets dry. So there's a lot of things that are going on in patients at this age.
Yeah.
And hormones are obviously a part of the story, but that you still have to address the skin care needs of these patients. And I
Hmm.
love seeing companies. Again, we talked about pre-aging. Now
Hmm.
we're talking about the postmenopausal, perimenopausal,
Yeah.
postmenopausal patients, females. Um, we had a cute speaker at the Women's Derm Society luncheon.
Uh-huh.
Made me think about about that story she told about her son.
Yeah.
What was her name? Jennifer. I can't remember her last name.
I
She's
can't
a
remember either, but
correspondent from ABC,
yeah.
a medical correspondent from ABC. And her son
OBGYN.
asked, yeah, OBGYN. And her little boy asked her if she had caught menopause like it was a disease.
And then I think her husband asked her if every woman goes through
Goes through
menopause.
menopause. Is every woman like this? she, she was great. She gave a great talk. But it's so true. Menopause has been, it's something we didn't talk about 20 years ago with patients, that's for sure. Now it's top of mind with everybody. And I give social media some credit on that too. There's a lot of really good OBGYNs out there talking about the changes in menopause and the importance of hormone replacement therapy,
Hmm.
which after that WHI study really went by the wayside for a decade.
Hmm.
But now they're bringing it back. And,
Hmm.
I think it's good times for women in menopause.
Hmm. I think the only other product that I was exposed to this at this meeting that I'd like to talk about, there's a product from Ourself. And we have actually had the founder of Ourself on our podcast, and they have come out, and Ourself is really based on a novel delivery system, and it's
Mm-hmm.
this multi-tiered vesicular delivery system that can deliver incredibly large molecules we never thought would be able to penetrate the skin. And they have this new all-in-one cream that I learned about that I was really excited about. Again, utilizing their delivery system, they can put lots of different ingredients in there and get delivered all at once and make sure that they're all compatible with each other. And it really, I just fell in love with this product. I'm forgetting the name right now, but it's from Ourself, and I called it the Amazing Cream after learning more about it. And so now
What
in my mind, it's called the
do you
Amazing
remember
Cream.
what's in it?
Oh gosh, I mean, definitely
Don't
peptides and growth factors, and
Gotcha.
and and
They can
then
deliver anything with that delivery system,
yeah,
right?
yeah, they can deliver everything, and so that's another cream to watch out for.
It's
Um,
a company to look at too,
yeah,
ourselves, because it's kind of
Ourself.
cool. And
Yeah,
yeah, you and I have both been following them.
Yeah, and they've got
in
their lip
evolution.
plumping, and so
Right.
while we were there at the booth, I was
Did you
using
get your
their.
lips plumped?
Oh yeah, it works. Let me tell you, it's amazing what they're able to do, and so I think that's a company that we need to keep an eye on, as you said.
Instant effect. And how many exosome companies were in the exhibit hall?
Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I didn't
I
see.
saw I saw a couple, but not as many as I thought.
Not like in Paris where we were at IMCAS, where every other
Every booth
company was
seemed.
plant derived exosomes.
Yeah,
Here, I really didn't see much at all.
yeah. There was just a couple of them. I think you and I were talking about exosomes, like
Hmm.
do they have staying power?
Hmm.
Or are we going to be on to the next thing before too
Hmm.
long?
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's, I'm giving a talk with you at our session later on today, and mine is on novel concepts in cosmeceuticals, and I'm kind of talking about that
yeah,
we're, is it the exosome that we need to focus on, or is it the growth factor, and how do we really make those growth factors penetrate the skin? So, I we'll see.
that's the challenge.
That's the
That's the
challenge.
challenge because they're
Yeah.
so big.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the conditioned medium products have been around for a long time,
Yeah.
and they deliver growth factors.
A tiny little new company called Invo has a new conditioned media product line that is just launching as well. So we got to keep
Cool.
our eye on that. They're
Yeah.
producing some data also. But I agree with you. I think we learned from TNS. I mean, kind of going back to Skin Medica,
Yes.
kudos to them for their conditioned media products. And we didn't know exactly what was in them, but now we sure do.
Yeah.
And
They categorized that and
hmm
tore it apart. Found
hmm
so many actives,
hmm
so many things in that product.
hmm hmm
Super interesting. And then again, now we're seeing the evolution of it.
hmm yeah.
Well, I wonder what the next thing is. What do you think? What do you think's the next on the horizon?
I think that the purifying these growth factors, like we're seeing, there's a platelet derived growth factor company that has come in where it's interesting. They're kind of going the other way. They have their product already FDA approved for injection into joints, for example, for healing
Right.
and used orthopedically and surgically. And now they're saying, okay, we already have FDA approval. Let's apply it topically, and they're showing some really nice results after ablative laser, for example. And so I think we're going to start seeing these specialized products that harness the technology and power of just a few growth factors at a time, but at a very high level to really maximize the benefit of what those growth factors can do. So
Can
platelet
do.
derived growth factors are great for immediate post procedure, post surgical healing. And so I think what we'll see is utilize those for the first few days, maybe a little bit longer, then transition to something that has a little bit more of a broad ingredient list to do more. But as we're able to use this technology to focus on certain ingredients, we may be able to do this kind of hit and run approach where we use one product for a few days, use another product after that to shorten the healing time, and then another product for daily or every other day use. I
I
think
mean,
that
that's
might be where we're going.
yeah, and that whole category of pre and post procedure is just ginormous.
Yeah.
And every company is looking at that particular usage for a
Hmm.
cosmeceutical. And some of them are using some of the things they already have. We've seen
Hmm.
studies on CE ferulic from
Hmm.
SkinCeuticals, for example. Joe Weibel did a nice study on that.
Hmm.
But then there's other companies looking at that pre and post procedure space as well.
Hmm.
Alastin obviously has another giant in that area
Yep. And
and has
and
tested their products.
yeah, I think it's really exciting. And again, kudos to those small companies that are coming in with data. We just love to see that. So thank you for doing
Absolutely.
that. And we'll highlight all of that at the Science of Skincare Summit. So more to come. But Patty, it's been great. I mean, you get to
Yep.
leave tonight. I get one more day here.
Lucky you.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get home. I'm tired. I'm tired,
Yeah.
tired, tired.
It's been a good time.
Anyway, it was a great American Academy of Dermatology. Thank everybody for listening to us today. Ted, have a great day, and we'll see you guys hopefully in Austin, September 5th through the 7th this year.
All right.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Bye.